Hello everybody, this is Sherry at djsundry.blogspot.com, and this is a little bit different start to my normal videos, but today I use the Design Studio, the Cricut Design Studio, quite a bit, and I just wanted to show you how I did that. So I hope it shows up okay on camera. I've never done this before. This is for the blog hop, You Are So Sweet, over at gettingcricky.com. So we're really glad that you could join us today. And the theme today, obviously, is You Are So Sweet. And this is my last post for the week of projects. And today I am again making a coffee card. Only this one I am playing around with, and I made a shape card. So I used the Love You a Latte cartridge from Cricut, and I loaded it into my Design Studio. Now the first thing that I did is I used the Latte key, and let me find that, and I opened up my Design Studio, and let's see, I used the Latte, this one right here, and it actually says latte, although I'm not using the word latte at all. So that's the key I used, but I decided I wanted to make a shape card. So I went into the Design Studio, and I don't know if you can see the mouse here, but on this bottom, this is the main shape card. And let me just click on that and see if we can give you some dimensions here. By the time I sized and resized, this ended up being 3 2/5 inches wide by 5.628 inches tall. And then I copied that shape, I flipped it around, and then I rotated it 90 degrees and came up with this other shape. This is the other side of it, and then I went in, and I know this isn't showing up very well on screen, I welded these two together using the weld key, and I hid all the contours, like where the straw went and where the inside things went. I hid all of those contours so that it wouldn't show on the back of my card. So the card's actually going to flip upside down. And then I went, and using the Design Studio, I copied and pasted, and I came over and I used the, let me see which feature that is. I believe it's the shift feature on the main button, and I did the bottom, the shape card, or the shape features. And I'll show this all to you in a minute. And I resized it, I kept all my contours, and then I did the main feature again up in this upper corner here. Only this time I made it just smaller than the card because my card is dark and I wanted to use a different color on the inside to kind of finish it off. Now for the label and the straw hole and for the different design features on it, I cut it in 3 different colors, so that's why you see it on here 3 different times. And then this little heart, instead of using the word latte, I plan to use the little heart. So again, I moved that over to the middle of the card, or of one of the border features, so that I could size it correctly, and then I just pulled and stretched on it until I saw how to do that. So and that heart actually is from the coffee mug, which is a different, completely different cut. Let's see, it's right here. It's this heart right here across the page. So this is what it looks like. Now I'm going to move this aside and show you how I set up my mats. Now I know I've made this tip before, but always especially when you're playing with the Design Studio and playing with sizes and things, always cut it in white first. And the reason I say to do that is you want to be sure that your sizes are right. I think I ended up cutting it 2 or 3 times in white before I knew, because even though the lines are there and they show you, I just wasn't getting them sized exactly right. So I cut it in white, and the reason I did that is because white tends to be a little less expensive. Now this is my first mat. Let me just put the camera so I can show you the whole mat. Kind of zoom out a little bit. So this is the way I set up my first mat. Now this brown paper is from the Paper Studio, just some I picked up from Hobby Lobby, I believe, and it is actually, this is my double cut. Now you notice that I had things in this corner and things here and here. The reason I don't have them on this mat is because though they all fit on the mat correctly, getting my paper size just right was a little bit difficult, and I didn't want to take any chances of miscutting the paper. And so, because some of this paper I don't have a lot of, so what I did is when I went back and I deleted the shapes that I didn't want, so the one that was down here and the two in here I deleted. And then the key to that is don't save it. If you delete those shapes, then when you go to open it again to get the other shapes and delete the other ones, don't save it between, and then it will save. Now I know you can set up additional pages and do it that way. I'm not that proficient in the design studio, and I haven't been able to figure out how to copy and cut my sizes appropriately on the second page, and maybe there's a way you can do that, and if you can, let me know. I've not been able to figure out how to do that, and so since I haven't been able to figure that out, I just thought, you know what, I want to, rather than saving it under 2 or 3 different files, and because I was using the shapes themselves to help determine the size, I just did it this way. So what I did, like I said, is I just deleted these shapes. I set up my paper. This blue paper is from this mat stack that I have that doesn't have a cover on it. It's probably from Provocraft somewhere. I've had it for years and years, and it doesn't have a cover, so I don't know where it's from. This paper, as I said, is from Recollections. So let's set that aside. So then, and I don't know if you can see on the camera, but I didn't quite cut my paper wide enough, and so the little hole that will be for my straw didn't end up cutting completely. So when I reset up my second mat, which is right here, let me move that one out of the way. When I set up my second mat, I went ahead and kept all 4 shapes, and then what I did is I moved them to the corners so that I would not have to worry about running into each other. Now I know that on this bottom corner you see this it doesn't all match, and I've got cuts going off. The only reason I did that is because all I really wanted here was the straw hole, so I wanted to be sure and leave it high enough to do it. And this was a piece of scrap of the blue, and I didn't want to waste more paper, so I just found a piece of scrap of yellow since I didn't need this bottom cut anyway. All I needed was the hole, really. And so that's how I set that up. And then up here I did it in tan, which is just a paper pack that I have. I don't remember where it's from, Joann's or Michael's or somewhere. And then this is just a brown scrap. And then this is the features. Let me just pull this off so that you can see it. This paper is actually from the Die Cuts with a View Love You a Latte stack. Now I know these aren't traditional Valentine's colors, but these are the colors that the person I'm giving the card to, she likes this color combination, and to me that's more important than whether I'm being traditional or not. So that's how I did all of the cuts. I am going to shut down the video, and when I come back we'll put this card together. Thanks. Okay, so we're back, and I have done some of the prep work just to make this a little bit quicker, and I am doing all my stamps from one set today. I am just using the regular Coffee and Tea for You and Me sentiment set, but I'm actually using looks like 4 different stamps from that set. I'm using Love You, a Latte, Grande, and You're Just. So let's get started. Now for the prep work, I have already gone around and I have inked around all of my pieces. I've used the Distress Ink Frayed Burlap for that. Move some of this out of the way. And I've just inked around all of the edges. I decided to see, did I want pumice stone or did I want frayed burlap? And the frayed burlap, I just like the way it looked a little bit better. Now, it's kind of hard to see on this that it's distressed at all, but it really is. I'm going to just reach over and grab my bone folder. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half right at the top. And I see that with this particular one, I really should have scored it first. But it'll be okay. I think what I will do, since it kind of roughed that up, I forget to do that sometimes, especially on a shape card. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to ink around the edge at the top to kind of hide some of that tear mark. There we go. So there's my shape card here, and it's just shifted just a little bit, so let's just move that there. Okay, so there's the front of my card. We're going to actually work on the inside of the card first. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece here, and remember I sized that a little bit smaller, and it just kind of creates a mat on my, so that I can write easier. The cardstock that I chose is textured, and so it's difficult to write on. Besides that, I just like the extra dimension that adding that extra mat does to the inside. So we're going to add that right there. And now I'm just going to set that aside for just a minute, and we're going to go to our stamping. Now I have actually I have 3 pieces that I'm going to stamp. Now I've already ran these through the Xyron 250, and I meant to stamp on this first, but that's okay. So I'm going to start with a latte. Now remember, the center of this actually had the word latte, but I wanted to use my latte stamp from the K. Andrew Designs, and I'm going to use the frayed burlap again, and I'm going to stamp a latte right in the middle of my heart, just like so. And we'll set that aside, and then I'll just set that aside, and this one is Love Ya. And this one, because my heart, because a latte is, the L in latte is larger than what my heart really would fit the whole sentiment, I'm going to actually stamp the Love Ya at the center of the cup rim, just like that, again using the frayed burlap. And that just reminds me of coffee there. So we'll set that aside, and now I have this brown piece, and this brown piece is going to go inside the card, and so I'm going to stamp that using Your Just and Grand. But the brown is too dark that you really can't see the frayed burlap. It's just too close to the same color. So I'm going to move to my black Excelsior pad here and just center that. Now I'm going to go off camera for just a second to stamp that because I need to see it. So now that says You're Just Grande. Isn't that cute? So we'll set all our pads aside. Let me just run a quick wipe over my stamps so that they don't get stained while I'm finishing up this project. Okay, so the You're Just Grande is going on the inside of the card, but what I wanted to do is I chose this time to use my Xbox or my 250 to do this card, and actually, nope, okay. And the reason why is it's easier for these smaller cuts just to stamp it down that way. So we'll just set that one aside, and we're going to put You're Just Grande right in the center. Now this one's actually going to pretty much cover up the center of the card. Because remember, this one's sized a little bit smaller, and my cuts were sized to be on the outside of the card. In fact, let me take a look. I didn't think of that before I started the video. I think it'll still be okay to put the frame on it. And notice how I've mixed and matched all these different cuts that I had, the frames and stuff, just for dimension. So even though that's a little bit off, I just like the way it looks, okay? So now let's move to the outside of the card, and let's put the outside of our card together. So this time, we'll start with the printed paper here, and we'll just put this together real quick. Now, I'm not sure if it's something that I did or if it's just the way the card went together, but I was really surprised as I was doing my practice cuts that everything doesn't exactly line up like I expected it to. I expected this to come out a little bit more, but that may be the way the cartridge is designed, because honestly you don't see the edges underneath. I really noticed it with the frame. By the time I put the frame on, it just doesn't match up, but the outer frame is just enough bigger that it kind of hides that it doesn't match up. So I guess it just was something that they decided was more, this is here more for a guideline, because you'll notice that when I go to set this down in just a minute that it just doesn't quite match up. just like that. So let's just kind of eyeball it there and center it. This one's going together fairly quickly now that the design part's done. It was the design part that took a little bit of time. If you're interested in the sizes, leave me a comment and I will post them below. Or I can just post them below, maybe in the description of the video or something. All right. We are almost done here. That little straw, I think I'm going to put right in the center. A little straw mark. Okay, there's our card. Love you, a latte. Now, again, there's a little bit of the brown showing through, and that's fine. That's kind of by design. And then we've got love ya, a latte. And then on the inside, you're just grande. Now, I'm just going to tell you, when I was playing with this, my original plan was to put this in a regular number 10, the long envelopes. But then after I got to playing with it and got it designed, I realized that this just almost fits in an A2. I don't know if it will now that I've got all the bulk. When I was playing with my cuts, it did fit. But it is possible that it could fit in an A2, or if you wanted it in a larger envelope, that would be fine too. The person I'm giving it to, I may not put it in an envelope at all, so I wasn't too worried about whether it fit or not. But there's our Love Ya Latte. So thanks for watching and have a great day.